Hello dear students, I am Sadullayev, English teacher of English Literature Department, Bukhara State University. So today I am going to teach you subject developing intercultural competence. So our theme is dealing with culture clashes, preserving cultural identity. So what is culture clash itself? So culture clash, it means conflict between two nations. So warm up. So what is identity? So what is cultural identity? What examples can you give? So the first, what is identity? Identity can be described as the entirety of how we as individuals view or perceive ourselves as unique from others. Bukhara state it is the racial, cultural and ethnic identities form part of one's identity. And identity will change with development at a personal as well as at a social level along with migration and acculturation. It is also perceived as a dynamic and fluid because it is established and extracted in interaction which is necessary to understand how communication works in diverse and transitory situations. It also has substance that it is not only transmitted from generation to generation, but from cultural group member of newcomer. So next question is, what is cultural identity? Cultural identity theory involves several aspects of a person's being. Their race, nationality, gender, location, age, gender, history and religious beliefs are put together to form a cultural identity. By combining each of these elements, a theory is created as to why a person acts and behaves the way they do. When asked to define cultural identity, many people respond to the question by comparing it to a lifestyle. Culture and identity go hand in hand when describing a person's background, relation persuasion, and gender orientation. A person's true identity includes their cultural and heritage as two of the most integral pieces of the puzzle. Cultural identity examples. There are several examples that are used to identify a person as part of culture. This can include the first, belief structure or religion. While the white people who live in Australia are commonly more Christian, the Aborigines of the area practicing their own religion. Next, dress. Every culture has a particular style of dress. For example, some prefer headdresses, while others choose to wear nothing over their head. Next is hair. How a person wears their hair can also be an indicator of their cultural identity. Next is type of foods eaten. Tribes that are gatherers mainly look for natural food sources. Hunters bring meat to the table. Ethnic groups that live along the coast may gain the majority of their nutrients from seafood or shellfish. Examples of cultural identity can include anything that offers testament or validation that a person is associated with a particular group, religion or race. Many times, the ways a person dresses and behaves in public are distinct examples of cultural identity and belief patterns. So we have case study. Study the case and think of the causes of the situation and ways to resolve it. First scenario, fast food. Context. Place. Drive-through fast food window. Time. Around 10 p.m. on a Wednesday. Who was involved? Fast food clerk, customer, me in car. Gender and age. Clerk was a man, probably in his 30s. I'm a man, aged 29. Relationship. Customer, service worker, never met before. Other relevant characteristics. The man came from Ghana. I'm biracial, African, American, German. Description. I waited in line in my car, then ordered a cheeseburger and soft drink. The clerk spoke very softly. His right hand was on the cash register, his left at the window. When he handed me my order, he looked away briefly, then said to me, "Very sorry. In my country, Ghana, it's very rude to do this." I must have looked blank, because he then added, handing a customer food with his hand. I sensed that he felt bad, and I said in a bright smile, "Oh, whatever," and gave a wave of my hand. Then I drove away. Interpretation. Only after I drove away did I realize that he was talking about the left hand being unclean. My mind was on getting food and getting home quickly. I think he was probably talking to me as another black person about something that really made him ashamed. At the time, I reacted in very American mode. I wanted to be friendly, to tell him that he didn't insult me, that everything was fine. And I wanted to get going. In my culture, there is no particular stigma attached to using the left hand, so it didn't seem like a big deal to me. It's possible that in his culture, the taboo against using the left hand is so strong that he can't put aside those feelings when he is in the US, even though he knows we don't care. Thus he apologized to everyone. I think he assumed that a black American would be more sympathetic, would listen to him as a real person, would honor his American culture. Or maybe it's just a routine courtesy to apologize, and he does apologize to customers, often without thinking much about it. Evaluation. High context meets low context. First, fast food is a very low context activity. Americans generally accept to order food, get it right away, take it away to eat it. We don't expect conversation, a relationship with a cashier. The clerk was probably from a more high context culture where interactions with other people was more important than efficiency or speed. The second evaluation. Assimilation of immigrants in the US. Probably no one at this restaurant ever thought about how serving food with the left hand would offend some of their employees or customers. Immigrants are pressed to assimilate in many subtle ways, in this case cultural control of body movements and interactions with customers. The third evaluation. Understanding cultural differences doesn't necessarily mean that you can overcome your own physical and emotional reactions. The clerk still retained his own culture's values even though he had changed context. The fourth evaluation: keeping your culture to yourself. Cultural differences are complicated and dangerous to talk about in the US. When you do, even well-meaning Americans often don't understand what you are saying. Language and culture. Language is the most important carrier of cultural heritage, but it's a common sense of social science that language doesn't equal to culture. All cultural traditions that can be transmitted from generation to generation must serve some functions or helping people in a certain situation of life world. The constructions of scientific micro world for cultural inclusive theories enables indigenous social scientists to recognize the cultural traditions in an objective way that may preserve cultural identity and subjectivity of non-Western countries in the context of multiculturalism. What should you do as a teacher to preserve cultural identity? So tips teachers should consider: don't assume when you see something that seems familiar in another culture that it has the same meaning and significance as in your own culture. Accept cultural difference as a reality. Underneath, the people of the world can be profoundly different. Don't make the mistake of thinking that your culture is more complex than others. Allow yourself to like and dislike aspects of other cultures, but don't condemn entire cultures. When you judge another culture, you are more than likely using your own culture's standards to do so. Don't make the mistake of thinking that the people in your culture are diverse individuals, whereas the people in other culture are indistinguishable. Look for the knowledge, awareness, and skills needed to improve intercultural communication within your class. Accept that stereotyping is inevitable, but be aware of it and help your students to guard against stereotyping. Don't draw conclusions about a student's culture based on some aspects of their lifestyle. Be aware of your personal culture and the influences it may have on you as a teacher. Understand that culture is pervasive. It influences the way you act, see, feel, do, interact, and behave. Accept that quite a lot of your own behaviors and behaviors of your students are rule-governed and ritualized. You are a member of culture which regulates your behaviors. Don't make assumptions about other people's cultures based on their ethnicity or nationality. So we have video about cultural identity. So here you can see link of the video. So according this link, so you can watch a video about cultural identity, dear students. So we have article for independent learning. So this article is according our today's new theme, so you can read this article and you will discuss with your partner. So this was the end of the lesson. Thank you for attention, dear students.